Before you hear the full story, pause for just a second, because what you're about to witness isn't just about a secret date, it's about a truth that changed 3 lives forever. And if stories about love, sacrifice, and second chances move you even a little, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because this one will stay with you long after it ends. The night everything changed, Aarav stood outside a luxury hotel, staring at his reflection in the glass doors. His hands trembled slightly, not because he was afraid of rejection, but because he was terrified of being discovered. He checked his watch again. 8:03 p.m. He was late, something he never allowed himself to be, especially tonight. At home, his 6-year-old daughter Mare had fallen asleep clutching his shirt, the one he'd left behind so she wouldn't cry when she woke up. Aarav bent down before leaving, brushing her hair away from her forehead, whispering, "Papa will be back soon." But even he didn't know if that promise would hold. Aarav wasn't just a single dad. He was a man who had rebuilt his life from ashes. 5 years ago, he had lost everything: his wife, his home, and almost his will to live. Mare had been the only reason he kept going. Every sleepless night, every double shift, every sacrifice, it was all for her. But tonight wasn't about survival. Tonight was about a secret. He took a deep breath and stepped inside. The hotel lobby shimmered with elegance: crystal chandeliers, marble floors, people dressed in wealth and confidence. Aarav felt out of place in his simple shirt and worn shoes, but he walked forward anyway. Because someone important was waiting. At a corner table sat a woman in a navy blue dress, her posture straight, her presence commanding. Her name was Kavya Malhotra, the CEO of one of the fastest growing companies in the country. Powerful, respected, and completely unaware of the truth Aarav carried. She looked up as he approached. Her expression softened just a little. "You're late," she said, not coldly, but not warmly either. "I'm sorry," Aarav replied, sitting down. Something came up at home. Kavya studied him for a moment. There was something about him, something real, something unpolished, that intrigued her. That's why she had agreed to this date in the first place. Aarav wasn't like the men she usually met. He didn't try to impress her. He didn't even seem to care who she was. And that bothered her. "You said you wanted to tell me something important," she said, leaning slightly forward. "Something you couldn't say over the phone." Aarav's heart pounded. He had rehearsed this moment 100 times. But now, sitting across from her, everything felt heavier. "I did," he said quietly. "But before that, I need to ask you something." Kavya raised an eyebrow. "Go on. If I tell you the truth, will you promise to listen till the end?" She paused. Something in his voice made her nod. "Fine, I promise." Aarav swallowed hard. "I have a daughter." Kavya blinked, slightly surprised, but not shocked. "Okay, and she's 6 years old." Kavya leaned back, crossing her arms. "You're a single father. That's not exactly a crime." "No," Aarav said softly. "But the rest might be." Silence settled between them. Aarav continued, his voice steady but heavy. 5 years ago, I used to work as a junior accountant at your company." Kavya froze. "I was there the year your company nearly collapsed." Her eyes narrowed. "That was due to internal fraud. Millions were stolen." "Yes," Aarav said, meeting her gaze. "And I was the one blamed for it." The air shifted. Kavya's expression hardened. "You expect me to believe I didn't do it," Aarav interrupted gently. "But I couldn't prove it either. I was fired, publicly humiliated, blacklisted from the industry." Kavya's heart raced. She remembered that case. It had been one of the darkest moments in her career. She had trusted the investigation reports. Trusted the evidence. "You're saying you were innocent?" she asked slowly. Aarav nodded. "I tried to fight it. But then, my wife fell sick. Cancer. I didn't have time, money, or strength to keep battling the system. I chose her, and my daughter." Kavya's throat tightened. "She passed away 6 months later," Aarav continued, his voice breaking slightly. "And after that, it was just me and Mare." The noise of the restaurant faded into the background. "So why are you telling me this now?" Kavya asked, her voice quieter. Aarav reached into his bag and pulled out a worn envelope. He placed it on the table. "Because last month, I found something." Kavya hesitated, then opened it. Inside were documents, bank transfers, emails, evidence. Her hands trembled as she read. This is from our former CFO," she whispered. Aarav nodded. "He framed me. He needed a scapegoat. And I was convenient." Kavya's world tilted. "All these years," she murmured. "I don't want revenge, Aarav said quickly. I don't want your sympathy either. I just needed you to know the truth. Kavya looked up at him, her eyes filled with something unfamiliar, guilt. Why now? She asked again. Aarav took a deep breath. Because Mare asked me yesterday why I never smile like other fathers. That hit harder than anything else. I realized, I've been carrying this weight for too long, he continued. And I don't want her to grow up thinking her father is broken. Kavya closed the file slowly. And the date? She asked softly. Was this just a way to get my attention? Aarav shook his head. No, the date was real. For the first time, Kavya didn't know what to say. A man she had unknowingly wronged, sitting across from her, not asking for anything, just telling the truth. Does your daughter know? She asked after a pause. No, Aarav said, and I want to keep it that way. Kavya exhaled deeply. Come with me, she said suddenly, standing up. Aarav looked confused. Where? To fix this. The next morning, the entire company was in shock. Kavya stood in the boardroom, the evidence laid out before her senior team. This case is being reopened, she said firmly. And Aarav's name will be cleared. Some protested, some resisted, but Kavya didn't back down. For the first time in years, she wasn't acting like a CEO. She was acting like someone who wanted to make things right. Days turned into weeks. The truth surfaced. The real culprit was exposed. And finally, Aarav's name was cleared. But the real moment came when Aarav returned home that evening. Mare ran into his arms. Papa, you're smiling. Aarav laughed softly, lifting her up. Yes, I am. Why? She asked innocently. He looked at her, his eyes filled with warmth. Because sometimes, the truth takes time. But when it comes, it brings light with it. Behind him, Kavya stood at the door, watching quietly. She had changed too, not just as a leader, but as a person. Aarav turned to her. Thank you, he said. Kavya shook her head gently. No, thank you, for reminding me that power means nothing, if we forget humanity. Mare tugged at Aarav's shirt. Papa, who is she? Aarav smiled. She's someone who helped us find the truth. Kavya knelt down to Mare's level, smiling softly. Hi, she said. Mare grinned. Are you Papa's friend? Kavya glanced at Aarav, then back at Mare. Yes, she said. I hope so. And for the first time in years, Aarav didn't feel like a man running from his past. He felt like someone finally walking toward his future. So if this story touched your heart, even a little, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because sometimes, the most powerful stories aren't about perfect people, but about broken ones who choose to heal.